By the end of this video, you will understand intervals of increasing and decreasing. So here we want to talk about the different words and how to interpret in the graph. So an increasing interval means that the graph goes up as you move from left to right. So think as we read from left to right. So left to right, we are going in the upward direction. Think like we are climbing a hill. This is also considered a positive slope. So this means that the y values are increasing. Constant interval means you move from left to right and the graph is flat. There is no rise or fall. It's just a flat horizontal line, no up or down motion. This would have a zero slope. Whereas decreasing is a graph that goes down as you move left to right. So starting from the left, as we go toward the right direction, we're moving down like we're sliding down a hill. This would also be known as a negative slope. So here I want to really use different colors to try and highlight the sections so that I can then use interval notation to show the x values where the graphs are increasing, decreasing, and constant. So starting from my left, I'm starting at this arrow and I'm going in the down direction, so that would be known as a decreasing interval. Then I would be going from left to right. There is no up or down, so this would be a constant interval. And then I would be going in the upward direction, so this would be an increasing interval. So I'm going to go ahead and shade all of my different locations to help me with my interval notation. So now I'm going to identify my intervals. Because decreasing is the farthest to the left, I'm going to start there in my red section. My leftmost point on my red section is this arrow. So this means that I am going infinitely to the left. So this is going to be a negative infinity. And then when I am doing my interval notation, this is always just going to include the x values. So I'm always just going to be focused on the x line. And I know that on the x line, anything on the left means negative infinity, whereas anything on the right is the positive infinity. So we are decreasing all the way down until we start having this little spot where we change from red to a blue section. So the x value for this would be -3. So that means I am decreasing from negative infinity to -3. Then we're going to go into our blue section, which is a constant interval. So we're going to determine that at -3, because that's where we change from decreasing to constant, all the way up to a +1, because this is the location where now we are switching from the blue to the green. So now for increasing, which is our green section, we are knowing that we are at +1 because that's where our constant interval changed from being constant to increasing. And then we are going to the right and we have another arrow, which means it's going to keep going on in the right direction. So even though I didn't shade it, the arrow means it's going to keep going right, which is a positive infinity. So I'm going to say from 1 to positive infinity. So here in example 2, we want to identify the intervals of increasing, decreasing, and constant for the graph below using our interval notation. So a good strategy is to first trace the graph to identify where we are increasing, decreasing, and constant. Then it's a good strategy to highlight the section so it's easier to identify the intervals and then actually state the intervals. So first I'm going to trace my graph. So when I trace my graph, starting from the left, I'm going down, and then we reach this little minimum point where now we shift and now we're going up, so we're increasing. And then we reach another little maximum point, and then we switch and we go back down to decreasing. So in this graph, we do not have a constant interval. So I know that I can just go ahead and write none immediately for constant because it does not exist in this example. Next, I'm going to highlight so I can identify the boundaries a little better. So now that I've highlighted, I can actually identify my intervals. So I'm going to go off to my farthest left to determine where we are starting. So my farthest left is this arrow. So that means it's infinitely going to the left direction. Left directions is negative infinity because, again, we are always talking about X when we're writing our intervals. So even though it is pointing up, it is actually pointing up and left is what we're concerned about. So we are decreasing from negative infinity all the way up to this boundary point where things change. So this is the -1 on the x-axis. So I can write from negative infinity to -1. Then we're going to cut into the green. So the green is increasing because we're going up as we go from left to right. So this is from -1 to a +1. So I can write increasing from -1 to +1. And then it so happens that I have another decreasing section here as we go to the right to an arrow. So I'm going to have a second interval where I'm going to use the letter U to say we have a union, meaning that we have more than one interval with the same type of thing happening. So then I'm going to say from +1 to the positive infinity, because again, we are going to the right infinitely. Even though we are pointing down, we are going in the right direction. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with fellow educators or students.